And here we go. And this is Here and Now. And we are here together with Steve Struggle in
Hello,
the
hi. How's everybody
Imperial
doing?
Center there in the Mother Lode, full of bombs, ready to go anywhere in the world, so to speak. And I'm Dr. Abraham. I'm a Jewish Bundist from a Jewish Bundist family from the Warsaw Ghetto, and now in Canada, but not for long. That'll be another story. So here we go, Steve. Like it's the fifth anniversary now of
Yes,
the Afghanistan Revolution, and
yes.
the left still hasn't recognized that revolution happened.
Well, I don't think the Afghan people are waiting for anybody to recognize it but them, actually.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's kind of the main thing I wanted to show here. I have a few videos I want to share, just some clips from um what's this? Some clips from the internet. And I'll show just some clips. There we go, a couple here.
Uh-huh.
I get this
He's
brother.
smiling. Good.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Today marks Sorry. The anniversary of the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan. This day is remembered as a significant moment in the country's recent history. We honor the resilience of the Afghan people and remember all those who were affected by decades of conflict. We hope for a peaceful, stable, and prosperous future for Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
Wow. Have you noticed that all the Taliban look like Che Guevara?
Okay, here you go. That was a good statement. No, I want to show
Good.
that. Here. No, this is from start
Oh,
again.
it's
This
upside
is
down U.S. flag.
right. This
Oh,
is from
that's it.
an activity where they're showing how they attack the U.S. But it's not moving for some reason. That's strange. Oh, here we go. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! They're just replaying how they attacked the soldiers of the United States. Now, this is an interesting. Remember that the U.S. left all their supplies there, and they're just dropping flowers.
What? Wow. Wow. A military aircraft dropping flowers instead of bombs. That is, like a first. Probably a military helicopter that was left by the U.S. military that the Afghanistan
Right? It was.
Taliban
It
took over.
was. It was. It
Yeah.
actually was.
Oh,
It
yeah,
actually
that's
was.
American. Yeah.
It actually was a helicopter left by the United States, as was that Humvee that they just showed,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and it's a very good video. Some terrible things. I'm trying to avoid the terrible stuff right now to show you guys. But there's a very good video. Here's another gentleman here. I live in caves, my brother, but the city lights up at night. Oh, God. I know. It's 4th of July, baby. Not 4th of July on your calendar. It's 4th of July on our calendar, alhamdulillah. Freedom, independence, colonizers have been kicked out. Sharia law, that way, this way, and that way, my brother. And right behind me, Sharia law, my brother. Here in the back as well, if you look at the Hummer over there. Shout out Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, by the way, this is American Embassy. I don't think I told you that. No NATO forces, no foreign forces, my brother. What we got here, this is a Prius, right? It's got the jerry cans on it. You might have seen them earlier. So Afghans fill these jerry cans with water, gasoline, whatever other fluids they need, right? The Mujahideen, the ones that fought for our country, they filled them up with explosives, my brother. And they defeated the whole NATO and the United States of America with these jerry cans. Against So those are some of the videos that are on
Here's a religious ceremony.
Ano ta چې دوی بیت المقدس د آزادۍ او د غازي مسلمانانو چې کوم نورینو کوم مصیبت او کوم غم دی د غصبو اسرائیلو له طرف نه
There's a lot on Telegram if people want to look and find it. And if I can find I saw a movie last night in English made by the Afghan government. It gave a pretty good breakdown of how the first Islamic Emirate was attacked after 9/11. That's when the attack started at nine and went on for that 20 years. And so I thought it was important to celebrate this because when the United States is when any foreign power or colonial power is forced to leave, it's a victory for the sovereignty of that country, irrespective of the type of government that it has. We can have that conversation at another time. And that's why I want to make sure that the viewers of this show were reminded that this is the fifth anniversary of the defeat of the United States in Afghanistan. The United States was defeated, and the Afghans they were poised to continue the war. They just like the Vietnamese were poised, and according to history, the Chinese helped the United States bring that war to a close. Vietnam was going to keep fighting, as was the resistance in Afghanistan. So I just want to share that with our viewers and let them know it's a very important day for the Afghan people and for anti-imperialism and anti-colonialism.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was very excited at the time, because the scenes, of the U.S. forces leaving, was so reminiscent of what happened in Vietnam. And Vietnam happened rather suddenly in our
Right,
eyes.
right.
Vietnamese knew it was coming, but we here in the anti-war movement, like we got so used to the war going on and on and on, that we didn't expect that the Vietnamese would actually win. Same things happened in Afghanistan, But I think that in the case of Afghanistan, the revolution was not recognized by the left as it did recognize the revolution in Vietnam. And there was no sort of anti-war movement in solidarity with Afghanistan. No, there's no anti-war movement in solidarity with Iran presently
Exactly. The same
because
thing,
of
same
the
situation.
same thing, because of the prejudice against Islam.
Yes,
And when,
yes, 100% correct.
yeah,
100% correct. Yeah.
it's okay, it's maybe, it's not Islamophobia, but it's a prejudice against Islam. If
Yeah.
there was, there used to be this current, in South America, so-called South America, of the in the Catholic Church, there was a progressive tendency that called itself Christian
Liberation, liberation theology.
liberation theology. Yeah, that's it. Now, and it started to become a political force. Let's say that political force, fought a, a revolutionary war against the U.S. Presence in that particular country and won that revolutionary war and became the government. The left here would be cheering in the streets. They'd be so, crying with happiness, that such a revolution had taken place, even if it was Christian or Catholic. But here, in this case, no, not a drop, nothing, no solidarity.
Yeah, none. And it's I don't want to say it's racist, but there's something wrong when it doesn't fit the parameters of the ideology of the anti-imperialist force, or those forces fighting. Or let's just say this. There's something wrong when you have conditional solidarity. Our solidarity must be unconditionally anti-colonialist and anti-imperialist,
Mhm.
period. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it. Whatever.
yeah,
And you can have criticisms of the practices of the government or liberation force. You have a right to have that, but you don't have a right to withhold solidarity. No, you
yeah,
don't. You don't
yeah,
have that right. And that's why people diss people like Fanon and Che Guevara and others who did not follow a certain script, but they were against colonialism and they were against imperialism. and
Yeah.
that's what gives them their historical importance. Also,
Yeah.
Lenin as well. Clear. Even in, I want to say, in one of his important words, he said, "If we had to support the emir of Afghanistan over something, we would support him." That's Lenin. Lenin wrote that.
Huh.
The emir of Afghanistan
Yeah. Yeah.
against a colonial power. Yes, he's an emir. Yes, he's oppressive. Yes, but he's fighting against an imperialist, and he's fighting for the sovereignty of the country. And
Yeah.
that's what I think we're missing.
Yeah.
You got to start there,
Yeah.
because then they will respect you for supporting their sovereignty. You don't see eye to eye on the ideology. Lead the revolution. We can
Yeah.
shake hands. We're anti-imperialist brothers and sisters. Thank you. Let's find a way of working together.
Yeah.
That's
National
all you have to
liberation
do.
for self-determination means that the people themselves determine how they're going to liberate themselves, not by following, linear periodization in Europe, not by following, Christian liberation theology. No, they're following their own
Yeah,
culture
and
norm, which is Islam. Now, I can say something about Islam. Okay. Islam is not an exclusionary doctrine or religion. The sort of stereotypical definition of Islam, in the United States, that's propagated is that Islam, excludes any other religion, and any other person who doesn't want to become a Muslim, would be killed as an infidel. This is not Islam. Islam accepts all other religious beliefs, and in fact incorporates, major principles of the two other major, religious tendencies, of Judaism and Christianity. In the case of Christianity, unfortunately so, in which, Jesus Christ is considered to be the sovereign from heaven or something like that, ambiguous language, which tries to entice Christians to become Muslims. And in fact, it did amongst the Palestinians. But in the case of Judaism, it does incorporate the law of Moses, which is fundamental to Judaism, and not the malformation made by the editor Ezra thereafter. So, Islam is a reflection of Judaism, and unfortunately that of Christianity as well. And it's not an exclusionary doctrine at all. This is entirely false image presented of Islam in order to gain popular support, for wars against colonial struggles for their own self-determination. And Afghanistan did it, and they won. And they didn't need the anti-war movement of the United States. They did it on their own.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's very important to mention that, because this um well, not just the anti-war movement in the United States, the anti-war and anti-war movement, period. Because unless we've missed a lot during that 20-year period, there weren't many signs of solidarity with Afghanistan. Perhaps from the Islamic movement there were, but from the non-Islamic movement there wasn't. And there's no refutation of what we're talking about. History speaks for itself. And right now with Iran,
Yeah.
there is no solidarity. No, there is not. Let's just be frank about it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been one group in the United States, two, that had rallies, one online and one very small rallies too. So there are some, but the majority of groups seem to be focusing on other things besides the greater crime of their imperialists, which is foreign domination, extraction of resources, and the denial of sovereignty. I'm gonna hit that point a lot. The
Hmm.
denial of sovereignty,
Hmm.
even if you don't like, even if the government's capitalist, in the government Islamic, they have a right to sovereignty. We
Hmm.
gotta we gotta kind of get to that first. And
Yeah.
that Afghans said we were gonna keep fighting. I watched a movie yesterday. We were gonna keep fighting.
Hmm.
And the United States saw that and said, it's time to go. And US just left. They just took off like most cowards do. They just left their stuff. And
Hmm.
Afghan now has an army based on US armed forces materiel. Great. So now they can defend themselves. Now what they
Yeah.
do with it, when workers or masses want a different form of government, they probably use those arms against it. But time will tell, and let's hope that doesn't happen. But I'm saying let's just hope there can be a struggle for a change of economic policy when that occurs, if that occurs. But right
Mm,
now, we need to just be clear that since Vietnam, there haven't been too many defeats like this where the U.S. had to leave.
mhm,
No, there haven't. No, there have not been. There have been skirmishes here and there.
mm,
Things in Lebanon with the Marines. There have been instances in high, or let's say i- instances when there have been setbacks. But the victory in Vietnam and the victory in Afghanistan are important defeats for the United States.
mm,
And if you're for self-determination, you want the defeat of the colonial and imperialist powers.
mm,
I didn't say you want to kill anybody. No, you want them defeated. And they
mm,
were defeated at the diplomatic table and on the military front.
mhm,
And if I can get this video and pass it on to you and others, they talk about going from a guerrilla war to a straight up armed conflict, the sacrifice that were made, and how people just kept they wanted the freedom that the United States took away from them after 9/11.
mhm,
After 9/11, the United States took away their freedom, imposed a government just like they did in Iraq. And they said no.
mhm,
And that was correct.
mhm.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for allowing me to share that today. Thank you.
Great, that you brought that up, because this has been lacking, so sorely lacking in all of the political discourse that I've been hearing. There is one difference, that I'd like to draw your attention to, in the difference between the Afghanistan revolution and the Islamic revolution in Iran. The Islamic revolution in Iran considers itself to be an international revolution.
True.
They are seeking to make a revolution in all of the colonial world against imperialism in the name of Shia Islam. Shia Islam is sort of a lower class version of Islam, where Sunni Islam is more aristocratic, like the family of Muhammad, type thing, aristocracy. So, Iran represents a revolutionary tendency, not in the name of Marxism, not in the name of, the permanent revolution or anything, even though it is, in the name of Islam. Well, okay, sure. Just in the same way that Judaism was a revolution against, slavery at one time and is considered to be so by its adherents. So, religion can play a political role, not in a reactionary sense necessarily, which it can be, but in a revolutionary sense as well. And here in this case of Iran, it is. It is playing the role of a center of the international anti-colonial revolution.
Yes, it
And
is. And we're one of the few broadcasts to say that.
yeah,
No, 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 we are because if you look at the world situation now, what revolution is causing gas prices to go up, inflation,
uh,
maritime problems? It's Iran.
yes, it's
I
got
mean,
its hands on the throat of capitalism.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're taking a beating. They're really taking a beating, but they're not doing a beating like rope-a-dope with Muhammad Ali. They are getting their blows in. They are fighting back, and the damage that they have caused in fighting back has definitely shaken up the imperialists. They were very unprepared for this, and this
Right.
shows you all the stuff they talk about. We're the greatest. No, you were totally unprepared. Matter of fact, you were negotiating with someone. You started the war. What kind of cowardice and backstabbing is that? I'm talking to you about peace. And that shows me you're not about peace. If I'm talking to you about peace and behind me I have a bludgeon and the second you turn your head, I hit you upside the head, that shows you that I never was about peace anyway.
Yeah.
So, the United States and the West have suffered, they've suffered a lot. I think they've been humiliated, actually. They aren't willing to say they've been humiliated, but they expect it to
But
be,
not not in
they
not
expect it
in
to
the
be over in
U.S.
3 days.
itself.
Three days.
Internationally, yes, but the Americans don't seem, they're
Yeah,
still being
yeah.
fed, this thing, that they're winning the war.
Well, if not just win the war, why is the gas price so high? The gas price should be coming down. If the war is won, then why are gas prices? And they've gone back up. It went down a little bit with some of the MOUs. They're going right back
Ah,
up. They're as high as they were when the war.
okay.
Matter of fact, they're higher. They're
I
higher. They're higher than when they
uh,
were when the aggression began.
okay,
So
I see.
literally,
Okay, so that's going to convince people that Trump is lying.
yeah, they're high. The gas prices are higher. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
nowhere in my territory can you not find $6 a gallon.
Oh,
Somewhere it's $6 a gallon.
oh,
Even if it's where they charge you credit card and different between credit card and cash, and that credit card price is going to be 605, 610 a gallon
wow.
somewhere. And when it first started, there was nowhere it was $6 a gallon. So they're lying. Inflation is still going. Inflation is still ravaging. I mean, I mean, if orange juice costs $9 a gallon and gasoline costs $6 a gallon, something's wrong. So you
Yeah.
ain't winning nothing. You ain't winning no war.
Yeah.
People need to wake up and start listening because those are not signs of victory.
Yeah.
Sign of victory means the Strait of Hormuz is open, that you have crushed the Iranian and the Oman negotiation. Who runs the Strait of Hormuz? You won't have new ships. There are two ships, the Abraham Lincoln and some I think Gerald Ford. There's feces in the pipes. The boys haven't been off the ships for 9 months. Some boys are trying to jump over the edge of the ships to commit suicide. This is going on right now in the
Oh, but
United
did
States.
you hear, Steve? Did you hear that seven sailors died in a confrontation between various gangs on the ship itself?
Oh no, I did not hear that. See, and there you go. There you go, where you even have ethnic conflict or gang conflict among the military. That's not the sign of a winning side. No, it
No,
isn't. No,
no,
it
it's
isn't.
like yeah, the beginning of a civil war, basically.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but that shows you also the tension among those rank and file soldiers. They've on so for him to even claim that winning the war is nonsense. If
Yeah,
you're winning the war, it would show you're
yeah.
winning the war. You would
It's
show it right
directly tied
now.
to that. Exactly, Steve. Because I read that, the reason why they weren't getting any shore leave is because the base, at Bahrain that they usually went, to get their shore leave, was destroyed by the Iranian missiles.
Okay.
So when they need to go for repairs and shore leave, they have to go to Diego Garcia, the
Yeah.
British island, there's still a colonial possession in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and that's like 2,000 miles away. So they're not getting shore leave, because of that. And that's what's, freaking them out.
Yeah, so I mean, and plus there've been open confrontation between Trump and Hegseth and other military people within the cabinet, and he's
Mm,
accused them of lying to him about the state of affairs of getting war materiel. He's accused them of being dishonest and not truthful about why they
yeah,
can't produce enough Patriot missiles and this kind of thing. If you're winning, you don't have that problem. You got the armaments, you got the bombs, they're on the way, no problem.
mm,
So that there's this whole thing about winning is just a lie. It's a joke. And but you said something very important. The solidarity is lacking, and I think we're hitting something because it's an Islamic based country. I think there's
yeah,
something to what you're saying here, and we got to get over that. That
yeah,
can't be the issue. The issue is lack of sovereignty, attacking legitimacy of the government, backstabbing, trying to tell them how they're going to live their life. No, no, no. That's the basis of real anti-colonialism.
yeah,
And right now, unfortunately, we're seeing it in very limited cases around the world. Around the
yeah,
world, not just the United States, around the world. And that's really tragic. But we have to face that reality and work to change it.
yeah. Well, we are. That's what we're doing here now.
Right here, right
Yeah,
here. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Um, Now, you had a couple of stories on what's happening to the Zionist military. There was in Malaysia. There was a story that you had.
Yeah, um there was a seizure of Israeli bound cargo that was left the Philippines about 8 or 9 days ago. It got to Malaysia, and Malaysia is part of this of a nation called the Hague Group. And the Hague Group is determined to prevent Israeli shipments from using their ports of transit. So the news reports allege that the material was headed to Elbit Systems, and Elbit Systems is a military contractor in Israel, and the material is still in Malaysia. The Malaysian government hasn't said what's going on with it. Israel's been very quiet about this, and very interesting, very, very quiet. But it shows that some countries are showing solidarity with the Palestinians in real material ways, saying that their goods to Israel cannot come through their ports. And
Yeah.
it's a story that's come and gone out the U.S. press, but people should know that it's not just longshoremen in Italy and some parts of the West that refuse to handle Israeli goods on occasion. This is a law of the Malaysian government, which says that Israeli-bound shipments cannot come through their ports,
Wow,
which
amazing.
was rather outstanding law in
Yeah,
my opinion. Didn't know anything about it.
really. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Oh, and okay, so that should sort of take a slice off of the Zionist arrogance.
Oh
The
yes, yes.
Israeli soldiers who go around the world, are not being well received. Their arrogance is not tolerated there, and they don't have any power, to make it stick. So they're getting kicked out of places and stuff, I understand as well.
Yeah, there was a story. I mean, there's been incidents in different parts of the world about this, but things on the internet, things on YouTube and Instagram and Telegram, like clips. But there's a story in a province in the Philippines where current soldiers and former soldiers would go and what they call take leave, and there were some very bad things happening. People are arguing and destroying restaurants that, or damaging restaurants that had a Palestinian flag. For example, if they see a Palestinian flag, these guys just go ape. They go ape. Excuse me. They go ape shit. They go
Uh,
crazy. They go crazy.
yeah,
And the governments have okay. Let's let's divert to Thailand, which has been the most militant. There's a Chabad house in the north of Thailand, and there was an investigation going on by the Thailand government regarding these Israeli-owned or foreign-owned companies. So they went to the Chabad house, and someone in Chabad house told them they are walking on Israeli territory. And the Thai minister said, "Oh no, this is Thailand. Everyone here has a right to religion and visit and to do business, but the laws of Thailand apply everywhere, including here." Now that
yeah,
just set the tone to me. That's like, look, don't tell us about we're on Israeli land. No, this is Thailand. So
yeah,
similar situations have occurred in Vietnam, though, excuse me, in the Philippines. And the government was they were coming at it from and the Filipino government finally said something, and even the Israeli government had to make a statement that this had to kind of stop. So it got so bad that they had to kind of admit that their boys were acting badly, coming in places being rowdy, attacking civilians. Now
yeah,
you and I know you just can't do that. If I'm
yeah,
visiting your country, but here's the thing, I read about it. It seems as though the immigration approach is quicker than charging with a crime and then holding them in the country for trial. So there seems to be a difference of how the governments want to handle this. Do they want to charge people with crimes, the Israeli ex-soldiers and soldiers, or try and get them on violations of immigration law, like working illegally, doing something again, overstaying the visa? That seems to be the approach. Now,
yeah,
in Mexico, it's been a little different because there's been also incidents of Americans going to Mexico and just not only acting badly, but remember last year there was some rebellions in Mexico against the Americans. I don't remember that. There was rioting.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there was, and Scheinbaum said, no, 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 we don't want to do that. We want to make everybody welcome. But the point is that we're seeing around the world, at least in Mexico and in Asia, behavior of Israeli ex-soldiers or soldiers and American tourists. They're just they want to treat the people in these countries like they treat them in the United States. That's what it is. Or have
Mhm.
it, well, I'm free here. I can do whatever I want. And racism and bigotry and colonial behavior will not
Yeah.
be tolerated.
Yeah. American freedom for racism. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe the Israeli freedom to badger Palestinian, badger anybody who supports Palestine, you can be attacked. No, no, I cannot be attacked. Get your
Yeah.
hands off of me.
Yeah.
So I want to let everybody know that the Philippine, the Thai, and the Mexican governments are pushing back, but some are pushing back in different ways. It seems to be easier to push back with immigration violation than criminal offenses. Even if
Yeah.
people have been assaulted, they've been assaulted in Vietnam. In the Philippines, was open and shut case. They assaulted Filipinos,
Yeah.
and
Also, there's pressure from the embassy. The local embassy will
right,
put
right,
pressure on the government
yes,
not to
yes, right.
prosecute. Yeah.
And that's how it works. We want people to know that, that's the embassies always step in some way to quote protect their nationals, when in fact the nationals should be expelled from the countries, in my
Mm.
opinion. If you behave
Yeah.
that way, you got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, um, I have run into this Islamic theorist, analyst again, and he has really brilliant presentations to make. And I'd like to share his presentation with you here
Go right ahead,
for
please.
a while. And I think you'll see why. Let's see if I have lined up. Oh boy. Oh, where is he? I'm not sure I can find him. Um,
Maybe next
Perhaps
time.
you could, you know, uh, bring up another story, while I'm looking.
Wow. Well, I can bring up a lot of stories. I sure could, but they're not nice. They're not the stories that I really like sharing because they're really not about victories. Um, there's been I mean, the Israelis have been, well, first of all, there's a major earthquake in Indonesia recently, and there's a telegram here from the Islamic government of Afghanistan, giving them solidarity and support. That's good. Um, here's a story about a brother who was
Oh,
a
I found him.
yeah, okay, brother. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
You've been Nazis everywhere that Okay, I got it. Take it back to the beginning. I
Yeah.
got it lined up.
Well,
Okay,
you know.
come back here. Okay. Yes, here he is. Okay. Nazis everywhere that you went. In fact, the fact that you single out Hitler just proves your hypocrisy. It just shows exactly what you're really about, what you're really like, because the only unique thing about Hitler is that his victims were your own kind. It wasn't about the violence, not the violence. There was nothing unique about the violence. You never objected to the violence. You objected to it being the wrong victims. See, you think that if you condemn Hitler and you condemn the Nazis vehemently enough, you think that you can trick the world into misinterpreting that condemnation as if you are condemning what Hitler did. But you did what he did to people all around the world. You have no problem with genocide. You never have had a problem with genocide. It just depends on who is getting slaughtered. The transatlantic slave trade, where you forcibly removed approximately 12.5 million human beings from Africa over the course of 4 centuries, and millions of them died on those ships in transit over to you, and their survivors, their descendants, were subjected to generations of systemic dehumanization until today, legally, institutionally, religiously justified and upheld
by that so-called civilization that produced your so-called enlightenment, your declarations of the rights of man, your universal human values and so forth, your Bill of Rights. That same civilization, that same people at the same time, in some cases, the same individuals who wrote those beautiful words, those founding documents, they themselves owned other human beings as property. And you now, revisionist, you call it a contradiction. It's not a contradiction. It is the operating code expressing itself very clearly. You have no problem whatsoever seeing your fellow human beings as objects. You literally do it all the time. You really should be honest about this. You should be honest about this and about yourselves. You know it's wrong. You know it's horrendous. You know you should not be this way, but that doesn't change you. Just knowing it doesn't change you. Just knowing what civilized people are like does not itself make you civilized. Do you understand me? Just knowing what morality is, or that morality is a thing, that doesn't itself make you moral. Your so-called civilization is a certain kind of a way, and it has made you that same kind of way, and you have to recognize this in yourselves. But I know you won't. I mean, there are wrongs that you have committed that literally cannot be undone, that cannot be made right. And when there cannot be restitution, there can only be retribution. Do you understand me? Because the debts have to be paid one way or another. I mean, in North America, like I've talked about many times, before the Europeans came, the indigenous population of that continent was estimated to be over 100 million people. And by the end of the 19th century, the US Census counted only 250,000 or less than 250,000. How do you fix that? How do you make that right? Whole indigenous nations wiped out, erased, gone. Who would you even pay restitution to? You were a cataclysm. You were an apocalypse for those people. Do you understand me? The survivors were placed on reservations, which are by another name, concentration camps, before that name or before that term was created. And your culture produced cowboys and Indian mythology. You understand? Cowboy and Indian mythology. And you turned the genocide into entertainment. And you taught it to your children as adventure stories. I don't think you even understand. I don't think you even can understand how monstrous this is. And in the 20th century, within living memory, just the last century, the century of your so-called modern post-enlightenment human rights declaring civilization, the West, you produced 2 world wars and killed estimated 90 million people in those 2 world wars combined. The Holocaust, that was nothing but where your character and your instincts intersected with your technology. That's all that was. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you vaporized civilian populations in just 2 flashes of light, wiped them out, and until now you rationalize it. The napalming of Vietnam, 3 million Vietnamese dead, 3 million people dead. Agent Orange contaminating the gene pool for generations until now. Then you had in the 1990s the sanctions against Iraq in the 1990s, where the United Nations itself estimated that you killed over 500,000 Iraqi children, and your Secretary of State, so-called, at that time said that the price was worth it. Said it on camera, said it on record. She said it was worth it. Sure, you might disavow what she said, but you don't disavow what she did. Because you didn't stop and you don't stop and you're still doing it until now. And now, right now, you have live streamed in real time a genocide against the people of Gaza. And the truth is you don't care. The truth is you don't care at all. I know you've got your protests. I know you have your marches. You have your online crocodile tears. I see it. But the only thing that you're really upset about, this is the truth, is that you're being confronted with the reality of the complete disconnection between what you say and what you do, between what you tell the world you believe, and what you inflict, the barbarity that you inflict upon the world. You're upset about being exposed. You're upset that the lies about your so-called civilization are being exposed in 4K. It isn't, this should not be happening. We shouldn't be doing this. We can't be seen doing this. It hurts our credibility. Do you understand? No one in the world believes that you actually believe in the principles that you talk about. No one believes that. Because everyone in the world has experienced the brutal reality of how you really are and what you really believe in. You're literally, you only care about your self-perception between each other because you never cared about how your victims see you. You never cared about our opinion at all. You just.
So that's what's necessary to be said. So he goes on for quite a while, and I'll continue to record him But I don't want to keep you online, Steve, if you have a meeting to go to or something like that.
No,
Oh,
doesn't mean no. I have to do something at 2 or 3 o'clock, but it's 10:30 now.
okay,
But
so
this sounds a whole lot like Malcolm X, the
yeah,
contribution Malcolm X used to give. Very, very, very similar. Where they take a reality and expose the reality as an example of the hypocrisy of the system, and the way that the examples are given, you can't really refute it. You,
yeah,
you you can't refute it. But what I found interesting was the difference between retribution and resolution. Basically what I hear him saying is that for some of these historical crimes to be cleared up, some drastic measures will have to be taken
yeah,
because because the legal measures are they're like way outdated and overdue, and they only become a statement of apology, and that doesn't erase what's occurred.
yeah. Well, basically, the abolition of capitalism is required, because what generates greed, and greed generates colonialism. It's all connected. So, in order to stop it from happening again and again and again, the source, has to be addressed. The source of the problem, the source of the problem is capitalism. Remove private greed, and all of a sudden, you have to, work face to face and not, standing on top of another. Okay, I'll continue with this analysis here. Okay. Here we go. I think his name is Shahid Bolson, and his channel is called Middle Nation.
You don't want to look bad in front of your own people, meaning you want to keep the facade up so that you can keep telling each other how civilized you are, how advanced you are, how sophisticated you are. It's bad form, to be caught on camera violating every single principle that you all pretend to believe in. It ruins the illusion. It spoils the collective role play. It's a mood killer. No, we're not the same. We are not the same. We are not allies. And Muslims need to understand this. Muslims need to understand this. Just like how a non-Muslim can never understand Islam, a non-Muslim can never understand Islam or understand the Muslim world properly because they will always view it as an outsider. So they will always superimpose their own biased frameworks, their own limited understanding upon whatever they are observing. That's how you get Orientalism. In that same way, Muslims can never really understand the kuffar. That's true. Muslims can never truly understand the kuffar. We're always going to project our values onto you, values that you don't actually have. We're always going to think better of you than you are in reality. Because there are standards of morality that we just presume about human beings. You understand? We can't fathom that there are actually people on this earth who do not, in fact, live up to those bare minimum base level standards. And this has gotten us into trouble many, many times, these assumptions. We've gotten fooled many, many times. We've gotten conned many times. We trusted and we let our guard down and we got ambushed too many times exactly because of this. There are things that your civilization does casually, frivolously, that are the subject of entertainment, subject of dark humor and jokes and light conversation at your dinner tables and whatnot. Things that have been normalized in your society so thoroughly that the people who participate in them feel nothing, feel no shame, register nothing, and move on without a second thought. No one thinks anything about it. And those same things to us, to people operating from an actual moral framework, to people with a functioning conscience that is calibrated to a divine standard, those same things are monstrosities to us. You understand? It's not cultural differences we're talking about, not value disagreements. We're talking about atrocities. And you don't see it. That's the terrifying part. Not that you do them, not just that you do them, but that you are incapable of seeing how bad it is. The interface is moral looking, but the operative code underneath is something else entirely. And Muslims need to understand this. This keeps you all in a state of constant cognitive dissonance. Just like with your credit cards, like actually in reality, you're poor. You're literally impoverished. That's the reality. That's the reality. But your credit cards let you live the illusion that you're not poor. You can live above your means by way of rollover debt. You're living a life that you cannot actually afford in reality. It's a mirage. You can't afford a car, but you have one. You can't afford groceries, but you've got a full refrigerator. You can't actually afford to eat out, or you can't afford to get takeaway, but you still keep getting food delivered, don't you? Anyway. You shop anyway. You buy on Amazon anyway, or TikTok shop anyway. Without your credit cards, you would be begging in the streets. So you understand you are earning one kind of life, but you're living another kind of life by means of debt. Until you actually think that you're middle class. You actually think maybe even that you're upper class, when actually you're supposed to be living in a van down by the river. You understand me? It's the same with your so-called morals. This is what I'm telling you. It's the same with your so-called morals and your so-called principles and values. You want to be able to live the illusion as if you have them, but you do not have them. You know, your credit cards make it look like you're financially stable when you're not. And your fake moral claims, you can make yourself look like you are civilized and you are decent when you're not. I'm just telling you the reality. Again, as a witness, I think it's horrific. I think it's horrendous what has been done to you, what has been done to your minds, what has been done to your souls as a people. Objectively, it's horrific. And I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to lie about it. Just because you might get offended by being told. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but like I say, I know that that is the basis upon which you decide who is or who is not your ally, who does or does not support you, or who does or does not care about you. Not on the basis of truth. So I know that you won't hear me. So let me say something to the Muslims specifically, very important. Because in the Telegram group, in the Middle Nation Telegram group, someone mentioned seeing a Western Da'i talking about we have to get past this us and them mentality. He said, you are us and we are you. This is an interfaith dialogue. I'm telling you that's a treacherous statement he made. That's a treacherous statement. It's an incredibly dangerous and naive fantasy to believe in. And like I said, thinking like that has gotten Muslims into all sorts of problems in the past because we underestimated the danger of the people that we're dealing with. So let's be upfront about this. We're all human beings. Alhamdulillah, we're all human beings. We're all part of the same human family, the children of Nabi Adam alayhi salam, no doubt about that. But we are not the same as them. No, there is an us and there is a them. Both of those things exist. And we can say that without it being a hostile statement. It's not adversarial. We say it as a statement of fact. And we as Muslims, we understand that us and them can coexist. Our history demonstrates that. For centuries, under genuine Islamic governments, non-Muslims lived with documented protections. They lived with legal rights. They lived with functional institutions of their own, and with the freedom to practice their faith and to govern their own communities by their own laws. Yes, we even gave them that, not as a courtesy, but as an obligation, a divine obligation that is written into the architecture of Islamic governance. I mean, until today, subhanAllah, right now, today, there are literally more churches per Christian in the Muslim world than there are even mosques per Muslim in the Muslim world. There's even more churches per Christian in the Muslim world than there are churches per Christian in the West. When Salah ad-Din retook Jerusalem in 1187 after 88 years of Crusader occupation, what did he do? He ransomed the Frankish inhabitants, he negotiated their departure, and he protected the Christians. He protected the Christian and the Jewish holy sites, what they regarded as holy. And he even released the people who couldn't pay their ransom. And when he retook the city, he sent his own physicians to go and tend to the sick among his enemies. This is all documented. This is all historical record. That's how we are. Alhamdulillah. We are a magnanimous people. We are a merciful people. That's us. Contrast that with what happened when the Crusaders, when the Christians took Jerusalem in 1099. You don't have to believe us. The chronicles of the Crusaders themselves, their own accounts, written by themselves in celebration, describe the massacre of the population. Muslims, Jews, and even other Christians, Eastern Christian. They said that the blood was up to the bridles of their horses as they rode it. That's your civilizational comparison. Their own chronicles, that's your own source, okay? That's them. That's them. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam entered Mecca, after years of persecution, after years of torture, after years of exile, the murder of his companions, the boycotting of the Muslim community, when he finally entered in full authority with 10,000 Muslims, he issued a general amnesty to all the people who had done all of that to him in the past and to the Muslims in the past. And he didn't do it as a strategy, he did it as a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's your civilizational comparison. That's us. See, for us, we can recognize and we can acknowledge that there is an us and there is a them without that becoming us versus them. You're the ones who made it versus. You insist on making it adversarial. We don't. You insist on making it adversarial, not us. You insist on making it adversarial every time, historically and right now. Your civilization doesn't know how to leave people alone. You don't know how to leave other people alone. You will not stop until we have adopted your way, your epistemology, your values, your frameworks, your definitions. Now, assimilation is the price of your tolerance, and it always has been. You don't know how to coexist with difference. You only know how to crush it, how to co-opt it, how to eliminate it. The Quranic injunction, lakum dinukum waliya din, to you your way, to me my way, that's actual tolerance. That's real tolerance. Not inclusion that is contingent upon ideological compliance. I practice my faith, you practice your faith. You govern your community, live according to your values, and I will honor the covenant between us. And if any harm comes to you, we will protect you and we'll take care of you. That's the framework that Islam produced. That's what we live by. What your civilization produced was, we will tolerate you only as long as you become exactly like us. And if you don't, we will demonize you and we will attack you. You and I both know that that's the truth. You're coercive by nature. You're domineering by nature. You don't think that's what it is because you have been the dominant power for long enough that your coercion feels like the natural order of things to you. It doesn't feel like aggression because anyway, you have no moral framework that would even objectively allow you to define anything that you do as wrong. There's a moral void at the center of your civilization, at the center, at the foundational core. And all the things that I was just talking about, the incarceration, the addiction, the loneliness, the child abuse, the sexual abuse, the rape, the industrial scale degradation, that's not a system that's failing. This is what you all need to understand and reconcile your with. That's the system functioning as designed, extracting, consuming, moving on. This represents your culture. The system represents your culture. It's not a violation of your culture. You're a terrifying civilization. You are a terrifying civilization. Terrifying not because you're powerful. Power is morally neutral. It doesn't matter. You are terrifying because you are powerful and morally unmoored. You have some of the most devastating military capacity that's ever been assembled, but you have no genuine, binding, internal restraint on how it's to be used. That combination, operating across 5 centuries, has produced a history of global terror and global savagery, such as the world has never seen before. And now you want me to be your ally? You want me to sign on? You want me to join your coalition? Stand with you? Well, who in God's name could ever do that in good conscience? You don't need allies. You need exorcists. That's the truth. You don't need allies. You need exorcists. And you want us to assimilate. You want us to secularize. You want us to modernize. You want us to put the Quran down and pick up your values instead. Are you sure? Are you sure? I don't think you're thinking this through. Not even slightly. Listen. Islam is what is protecting you. I'll say it again. Islam is what is protecting you. Our adherence to Islam, our adherence to our religion, to the Quran, to the Sunnah, to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Islamic frameworks of ethics, the Islamic frameworks and principles of restraint, that's what's keeping you safe from us after everything that you've done, after the Crusades, after colonization, after Iraq, after Afghanistan, after Palestine, after Somalia, after Syria, on and on and on. After the theft of our resources and the destruction of our civilizations and our institutions and the manufacturing of failed states, after the drone strikes, after the torture programs, after Abu Ghraib, and the ongoing present tense dispossession of our brothers and sisters, and the genocide in Gaza, not to mention your atrocious crimes that you committed against others. And that list, if we went down that list, it's too long to even recite. After all of that, and with full awareness and knowledge about all of that, we're still here. Still operating within the limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and choosing patience and choosing the deen over our feelings. And you want to take us away from that, really? You want us to operate like you? You want us to act on our racial and our ethnic and our nationalistic identities without the moral guidelines of Islam? Do you understand? The Ummah is approximately 2 billion people. That's about 470 times bigger than the population of the United States of America. The entire Western Bloc. You're talking about the United States, you're talking about Europe, you're talking about Canada, you're talking about Australia. You combine all of those people, it's maybe around 1.1 billion people. Well, the Muslim world is nearly double that. And these are not people, we're not talking about people with the Muslims who have abstract theoretical grievances. These are people with living memory. You understand me? With parents and grandparents who experienced what was done, who remember what was done, parents who lost their children because of you, with ongoing present tense wounds, open wounds, real, documented, verified, undeniable wounds, going back for centuries and continuing until right now. I'm telling you, what stands between what we have suffered and vengeance on a catastrophic civilizational scale is nothing but Islam. The Quran and the Sunnah, the divine command to prefer patience, to prioritize stability, to pursue coexistence, to exhaust every alternative, to honor our agreements and to protect the innocent, to restrain our hand even when our hand is justified. Do you understand me? That is what is holding us, not your intelligence agencies, not your counter-extremism programs, your de-radicalization initiatives in your think tanks, your academic departments doing studies on Muslim anger. You know, you're actually out here trying to stop Muslims from following Islam, while Islam is the only thing that's keeping you safe. Wallahi, you had better hope and pray that the Muslims stay on our religion, if you have any sense at all. You can't hold us back, 2 billion strong. No one is scared of your bombs. No one is scared of your drones. No one is scared of your attack helicopters. You've seen that for yourselves. Muslims don't fear death. No, we obey Allah. And that's what's keeping us calm and controlled. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not hold us back, if our commitment to Islam did not hold us back, nothing would. Think it through. If you had any sense whatsoever, you would actually be funding programs to strengthen our Islamic knowledge, not disconnect our people from it. Believe me, you do not want to see 2 billion Muslims acting like you.
Okay.
You've been Nazis everywhere that you went.
Right on. Yeah. The Holocaust started in Namibia.
I, I, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the 20th century, actually, in Namibia. Um, the Hurari nation were decimated there. They rebelled and they were nearly eradicated by the German occupation forces, which then became the Nazis. Just, colonial practice, translated, transported, imported into Europe by the
Was there ever
Nazis.
was there ever any recompense, reparations,
Yeah,
anything?
it was, minimal, like, pittance, and there is a campaign on for a reclamation of damages, by the German, colonialism. That's ongoing, but so far no victories there, except that Namibia became independent. I
Yep.
think with the help of Cuban military.
Yeah, sure was. Yep. Yep. Sure was. Definitely
Yeah,
was. That's why in some circles of the West, Cuba will always be hated because they helped bring down they helped liberate that whole coast of Africa from Angola all the way to South Africa. Cuba
yeah,
plays such an important role. That's why I'll never have much bad to say about them actually because
yeah.
they were active in African liberation for at least 70 years.
Wow. Uh-huh.
From the 50s and 60s, from the 60s on, Cuba had a role in African liberation. It did, whether people want to like Cuba or not.
I guess that's a reason enough, for why Cuba is under siege right now. They're trying to
Right,
destroy it,
right.
and there's
Yeah,
nobody to hold them back.
right. Well,
Unfortunate that Venezuela capitulated like that. Really, like how could they allow themselves, to be taken over like that? Incredible.
That's another story we need to talk about. There's so much debate about, well, not so much. There's um, so much thinking about Venezuela, but not much talking.
Mhm.
I think we need to just take we can look at imperialism, we can look at the power of the West, we can look at all that. Yeah, that's part of the story too. But what really was happening and what really happened? It hasn't really, I think we have some stories to tell because something, I mean, the US is controlling doesn't the US control the profits of the sale of oil? I think it does, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. You revealed
So
that, you exposed that. Yeah,
yeah, I think we help expose that on this channel.
yeah.
So, clearly the US is dominating the scene economically.
Hmm.
If I as a foreign country can take the profits of your oil and tell you how you spend it, that is the destruction of your sovereignty. Right there.
Yeah,
Right there. That is the color revolution. That's it. That wasn't happening before. You had sanctions. Okay, yeah, you had that. But now, okay, we'll lift the sanctions, but we will tell you how to spend the profits of of your oil industry, and we'll put it in a bank somewhere, and we'll sell it. So we need to have a discussion about that because what is that if that's not a change in the way the government is being run? It is to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
mhm. Yeah. Well, there's some opposition that's being developed on the
Good.
streets now in Venezuela, I understand as well. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
Look
we'll
forward,
see.
to what it develops into. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, we're on the 16th of August now in 2026. So we've date stamped this, and we just have to send it out. Okay.
Sounds good.
So
I think we had a good show. I hope our viewers will share this show with others and use it as a source for advancing the struggle to free
yeah,
all humanity from the forms of oppression that we're facing now.
yeah, and internationally, not
Yeah,
just locally. Locally is not enough. You know,
good point.
like there is the slogan, think internationally and act locally. No,
Right,
locally is not
right,
enough. Yeah,
right.
and that's what we're doing here. We're international for real. Okay.